One thing I really wanted to do today is really go over the impact and a lot of the reviews of Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism. And again, if this is the first time seeing me, well, this page is all about alcohol use disorder, and I talk about my wife's journey into 20 years of alcohol use disorder, and she unfortunately passed away about 5 years ago. Her memoir is all over the place. I'll get to that in a minute. But it's important to understand that the impact of the book, because it was designed really for families from the family perspective, obviously being the spouse of someone who did succumb to the disease. It's designed almost as an Al-Anon project to make families realize they didn't create the problem, they didn't cause the problem, and they can't solve the problem. They can create boundaries and create tough love and push somebody in a certain direction and prevent them from maybe hurting themselves. But ultimately, it's 100% the responsibility of the alcoholic themselves. Two, for active alcoholics, to make them realize how much harm they do, not only to themselves, but to the loved ones in their life. It's very important for them to understand and really have the realization that they are really putting everybody in their life in harm's way. Spouses, children, parents, friends, family, everybody in harm's way. And if they drive behind the wheel, they're putting everybody in harm's way. It's important for them to understand that and give them the raw depiction of what's happening. Mostly, I really enjoy the recovering alcoholics that really appreciate the book and realize what they actually did to themselves and to their family members and are able to grow and evolve from that experience. That's really what this book is all about. And I'm going to read some reviews here to give you some more insight into what this is all about. I have to apologize for a minute here because I've had the flu all week and my voice is a little bit shaky, and it's the first video I've made in about a week. But I'm going to start with this first review. Some of these are from Amazon or just comments left on social media or in our Facebook group. I mean, there's hundreds of them. I just grabbed a few. First one here, I discovered this author on TikTok and downloaded the book and finished in one sitting, not because it's necessarily an easy read, but because I couldn't put it down. He did an excellent job of not just conveying the horrors of his wife's disease, though there were plenty, but also captured her true personality and loving nature. This book is essential for friends and family members of people with AUD. It definitely captures the guilt and frustration and hopelessness they feel, but gives understanding that it is not their fault. In reading the story, you can tell Amanda had alcohol use disorder before she ever even met Andrew, and before he was aware of some warning signs. He didn't at all realize the true nature or the implications of the disease. You don't know if you don't know. I think this is one of the aspects that could be most helpful to people reading, to help recognize signs early in order to get their loved ones help. Absolutely. He also gives bleak but necessary information about rehab facilities. I'm sure this was a difficult book to write, but it is so valuable. I also recommend following him on social media, but because he gives additional information, it is pretty interactive. Excellent, necessary resource. And another one, Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism, is an excellent read that provides a profound and realistic insight into the challenges of living with an alcoholic. The author does an incredible job of portraying the emotional toll, the complexity of relationships, and the resilience required to navigate such difficult circumstances. This book is not only a cautionary tale, but also a deeply empathetic exploration of the impact of addiction on loved ones. It sheds light on a subject often shrouded in silence, making it a valuable resource for anyone looking to understand the dynamics of addiction and the ripple effects it has on families. Highly recommend to anyone seeking a compassionate yet unflinching perspective on alcoholism. And then we have this book. Wow. Growing up in an alcoholic home with a violent dad, when he drank, he was terrifying, and I carry the emotions of the memories today. But this book shows that alcoholism presents in many different forms. Amanda was not violent, but she was an alcoholic in desperate need of recovery program that worked. We see in Amanda's story 30-day programs were not nearly enough for her. Her life was consumed with feeding the monster, passing out only to wake up and feed it again. Unfortunately, rinse and repeat, so often with many families. All the while, when it was feed, causing life-altering effects on those who loved most as well as complete strangers. I could go on and on about this book, but I won't. What I will say is, if you are an alcoholic, please read this book. If you have an alcoholic family member or friend, please read this book. If you know nothing about alcoholism, please read this book in order to recognize early signs of this horrible disease. Then a few just real quick comments. Never have I read a book that has stirred such emotion of bewilderment and anger. I'm so sorry you and your dear son had to go through such hell. Unbelievable. These events were parallel to my mother's story, and so I was able to identify with a lot of the love-filled rage he felt towards Amanda. To put this in writing is phenomenal. My attention was gripped from start to finish. Thank you for your story. Another one, I'm 46 days sober. I read the book the first week. I was there, and it made me understand what I was putting my family through. 8, your book is so well written. I read it in a day. It really sheds light on what some families actually go through when there's an alcoholic in the family. Another one, just finished your book and loved it. What you went through is wild. I hope you have the happiest life now. Really, the last thing I want to say, Amanda, Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism. You can find it on my link tree. You can buy it right on my website. And there's also another link if you're outside the United States, the international link you can buy it anywhere in the world. If you want the ebook, it's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and the Apple website. And that's all for now. Thanks so much for listening. Hope that helped.